life by you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Best Life by You, the podcast dedicated to helping you overcome challenges around nutrition, mindset, training, relationships, and well, all of the above. I'm your host, Julia, and today we have a two-time guest with us, no other than Stefan Lessie. So hello again, Steph. I'm so happy you're here.
Hey, thank you for having me back, Julia. This is a pleasure.
Of course. And I know last time, for those who listened, Steph has his own podcast called I Choose Health. And he has interviewed so many amazing guests, which I'll let him explain a little bit more about like what he's done and his background. Because the podcast we did last time, I know it was a collaborative podcast. So I do want to just take this time to refresh, who you are to those who are just listening, what you do today. And we're going to highlight a little bit and discuss a little bit more about mental health, preventing burnout, how you do it as a family man, and just if you believe we talked about balance last time, but really just to dive into how you do everything you do as a father, as somebody who's a podcaster, who's not making money off podcast, and how you do everything you are doing today. So just share with everybody a little bit about what you do now. Highlight you being vegan too. That'd be cool.
Well, thank you for letting them know that I'm not making money off the podcast, so Uncle Sam can't come for me right now.
Nor do I.
All right.
This is fun.
So, like anybody who thinks I've got it over here, I got it made, no, don't come for me, okay? And when it does seem like I do have money, y'all can't get me. Anyway, no, I'm playing. But yeah, so last time I was on with myself and Andre, and the I Choose Health podcast, as I stated before, I started because of, primarily from a mental health angle, because I was in a deep, dark place where, I wasn't prioritizing myself, right? I wasn't choosing myself. And I got to one of those days in 2022 where I think I got a healthier perspective on my life, and that moment I was like, you know what, I need to choose myself. And then I was like, I said I need to choose health, and so that was where I started to realize that without mental health, like you don't have health at all. Like mental health is the foundation of all like true health, right? Or at least the experience of true health. So for me, I was like, okay, I want to create a platform for other people to have honest discussions on health. And that would incorporate, discussions on mental health and people saying like, hey, this is how I've been dealing with this or dealing with that. And one of the pivotal conversations I had was with an individual named Adam Sudd. And Adam Sudd, he's also vegan, also plant-based. And he talks about helping people get over like addiction to food, because he had a particular addiction to food, got really overweight, and he got to a point where he became suicidal and wanted to take his life, and he was able to, by changing his perspective, changing his way on the way that he saw life and saw relationships, that helped him to really reorient and get to a healthy place where he lost the weight, got into a space of better thinking. And so for me, just to give a background what I do, so I've been a personal trainer this is going on to be my 6th year now. I became a trainer during the pandemic, lost some weight that I had regained when I lost weight originally back in, I think I lost all the weight back in 2010, 2011. Like I lost like 70 pounds. And by like 2016, 2017, I had like regained like half of it. So I was like, nah, I got to lose this weight. So lost that weight, been working as a trainer ever since. And, I've been blessed to work with a lot of different people over the years. I'm not even sure how many clients I've worked with to this point, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds. But, it's definitely been an amazing ride. So, I'm working as a trainer. I'm working as a group fitness trainer as well at the rec center. And I was saying this morning on my live, I was doing a TikTok live this morning, and I was saying that as much as I do like the group fitness training, there's still that personal trainer in me that kind of has a slight disdain, not really for group fitness training, just because there's not that one-to-one like that. Like you can have a class of 30 people and maybe you get around to 10 people, if so much, maybe 15. And so I do like the one-on-one attention, with a client. I'm working with them. The stories feel more personal. And not saying that people within a group fitness class, their stories are not authentic and real, but I get to see different angles of it every day. And my clients get to see different angles of my life too. Like they're checking in, they're asking me how I'm doing. They're giving me bonuses at Christmas. Not enough for you guys to ask, but yeah. That's why I still love doing that, and I still love producing a podcast today to this day, and I'm really trying to get into the space of producing a podcast because I love it and because I'm trying to help others. There's a part of me that's like, okay, I need this podcast to be profitable. I need this podcast to be profitable. And part of that, it sometimes it does lead to like feelings of overwhelm. Sometimes it can feel like burnout at certain moments. And my way of balancing that and dealing with that, I don't know if I've gone too far ahead into it, but like, you know, my way of dealing with that was trying to find a way to come back to like, okay, you're doing this because you're trying to help people, right? And if I'm operating in that space and I'm good at what I'm doing, the success, everything I'm looking for in terms of success, monetary recognition, whatever will come. So for me, it's just finding that time to just be patient with myself and be patient with the process. But yeah, that's where I am, like in the thick of things right now. I'm really going through my journey right now, and there's some great days, there's some not so great days, and I have to remember that I'm still in the journey, and to take everything that comes with it and just learn the lessons that I need to come out of this successfully.
Wow. Thank you for diving into all that, and we can definitely unpack that. I it's funny you mention you have to remind yourself of your why, because just before this, I was making edits to my app. I'm always making edits to my app. And I was like, Julia, what's the why? Why would people want to buy your app? Like, why would people want to be part of it? And I had to sit with myself for a second. I'm like, well, they can reflect mental health questions, do mental health questions every day. They can track food. They get plant-based recipes. They get free workouts, or like not free, but they pay on the app. They get workouts. They get travel workouts, body weight workouts. And there's challenges, group challenges where everybody, there's a leaderboard and stuff like that. And I sit there and I wanted to spend a moment to be like, what is your long-term like hope of this? And I did that with my app of like, my long-term hope is to have thousands on the app. I don't have to be on top of it. They could just be using it themselves and doing community challenges. And like every so often I can assess, provide feedback, things like that. And for me, I'm like, Julia, this is going to take a long time to get there. And it's being able to sit with yourself and show up and be reminded that, you know what, I'm not getting paid for this right now. Like for you, I'm not, and me for the podcast, I'm not getting paid for this right now. Am I enjoying this? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? And do I have a clear vision of where I want to be? Because if that vision to you is not clear, you want to sit with yourself and think of where you truly envision yourself. So, for example, for the podcast, for you, for me, myself, and for everybody knowing, Steph helps me with my podcast. Like I'm so grateful for him, and he's helped me connect to a lot of people because we're both plant-based and we both want to help each other succeed. He's referred me to so many people. It's a amazing of just like how good he is at networking. And so like I'm able to see your strength, Steph. Like I'm able to see what you can do. And for me, I had to sit with myself and say, where do I actually see myself? Well, in 5 years' time, I have a studio, I have a producer, I have a film crew, and I have people on my team who are, well, editing podcasts, being able to do all that. All I have to do is show up and and provide messages and interview people because that's what I enjoy. Now, for you, I would love you to sit there. What do you envision yourself doing? Because one, you are so good at editing and the behind the scenes as well, where it's like, do you see yourself doing like an on screen, off screen, you managing everything full time, being paid for it? Like, what is your vision for doing your podcast? Because again, you're so good at networking, you're so good at connecting with people, you're so good at editing, you're great at interviewing, being so calm, a calm presence, like following up with information. Like you have so many talents in the podcast space. So is there something in particular you wish to do with the podcast, or is it you just solely want to be a host? So talk me through your vision of where you see yourself.
By the way, the Steph she's talking about in terms of helping her, it's another Steph. No, I'm playing. But no, in terms of this space, man, like I really started to see. So I live in Brooklyn, and I live in. I was about to say which part of Brooklyn, but I don't trust these folks enough to say which
That's
part of
okay.
Brooklyn.
That's okay. You could actually just say like the Bronx. Just say you're in California. Why not? Nobody needs to know. I'm kidding.
But I'm I'm in Brooklyn, and as I'm moving around the area that I am in Brooklyn, I'm noticing a lot of, a lot of like hospitals, a lot of like medical centers, clinics, and this is predominantly like a Caribbean neighborhood. I'm also from the Caribbean originally, so I just started thinking like, yo, what if I can use the podcast in a way to connect people in the neighborhood who don't really have real access to healthcare, as a way for them to connect to these different centers, use that networking strength to really connect everyone in that way. And so that people are starting to look at health differently. Because for me, being on a podcast and it being on YouTube and Spotify, Apple, it's great. I get to speak to other people, maybe in different states, maybe in different countries. But yeah, I started to see the podcast being able to do more than just speak to millions of people out there. Like I think I got to a point where I got tired of just helping other people and not helping my community, right? So like I was working for Chelsea Piers for the last couple of years, and if you know anything about gyms like Chelsea Piers, they tend to be located in higher scale neighborhoods, and I was leaving my neighborhood, which was not as well endowed as some of these other neighborhoods are, and helping people within these communities. And I started thinking to myself, like, damn, what about my community? Right? And so I started to realize, like, oh, maybe the podcast can help with that. And so that's where I started, myself and Andre, we started thinking about being able to start things like health expos. Andre, we actually was supposed to have one like 2 weeks ago, but due to like weather issues, it was canceled. But we're gonna try
Oh,
to
I saw
reschedule.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, for like the 16th. So, but yeah, we're trying to really make a difference. Try to connect people to different levels of access in terms of healthcare. And so I want to take it to a point where, yes, like in a in a very similar way, like I would love to kind of just sit back, let there be a studio. There's a camera guy that's helping me out. There's an editor that's helping me out. Because even though I've been editing for a while, like there's still a lot that I have to learn with editing. Like there are days where I'm just like I'm watching certain things and trying to see how I can do better edits. So I'm just trying to get better all the time. Um, so yeah, like where I can see in the next like 4 to 5 years is it it being a thing where it's running on its own, but then also like I'm connecting other podcasters. I'm building a bigger podcast network. Because I'm noticing that a lot of bigger names in podcasting, they're doing that too. So I don't know if you've ever heard of like Charlemagne the God. He interviews a lot of the like entertainers, like rappers, singers, basketball players, you name it. He's like interviewed them, and he has his thing called the Black Effects Network, where he's connecting like a lot of like black podcasters, and it's not just black podcasters, but it's helping others kind of get on. And so for me, one of the reasons why I think I'm good with networking is I just like to see other people succeed, right? And so if I can connect one person to another that's going to really help with their particular vision, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And you said something about vision, which really stood out to me because I think it was in the book of Proverbs. I think it was Proverbs 29. I think that said, "Where the people have no vision, they perish." Right? Where there's no vision, the people perish. And so, I think everybody needs to have an idea of where they want to go, and that can be in life. That can be if it's a weight loss goal, partner goal, whatever it is. Like, everybody needs to have that vision. And I think that's a healthy thing. That's a part of health as well. If you are kind of just going through life without any type of vision, you're probably in a path that is going to lead to somewhere not so great, So I think it's really important to have that vision.
I've heard also I mean, it's mentioned, I believe, a few times in the Bible about having just praying on what you want, your heart desires, and I do believe God puts into your heart what those desires are. So I tend to encourage people, those who are like, I've had this vision of being a mom, of wanting to do this, and it's not happening. I'm like, if it's been placed on your heart, trust that it will happen. You just have to be patient. And that is what I truly believe in. And for you, I asked you the podcast question because you are so talented with editing. And even though you're like, oh, well, I could be better, I could be better, I could be better. The point is that you could do it. And I mean, I do believe people can do what they put their minds to. But you have the patience to do it. Like, that's something I commend you for, is that you have that patience to be able to do it. And that should be celebrated in itself. So you have your podcast. You currently work as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor at the Rec. You also have a storefront, right? You started storefront with that, the Healthy Girl Dad. So in 10 years time, I'll say 10 years time instead of 5, 10 years time, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself where you're at, building on your community, continuing to give back to your community, doing a podcast full time, like traveling? Because again, I know service is a huge part of your heart. So yeah, where do you see yourself in 10 years time?
Wow. So 10-year time, then I'll be up there.
Stop! You
But
won't be up there. What do you mean?
I'll be a
Look at
lot
Rich
close.
Roll. Look at Rich
I'm,
Roll. He's freaking successful. Look at
yeah,
him.
I'll be a lot closer to 50 at that point. I'll tell you that. Um,
It's okay.
but no, I definitely want to. I do love conversations, and in one of my past episodes with Andre, it was just me and Andre in this particular episode. Um, we brought up the fact that within ancient Greece, there was a place called Mars Hill. And Mars Hill was a place where thinkers would come and discuss the topics of the day. And so, I think podcasts are just a modern version of that, and so I think as long as we're here, we're breathing, we're thinking about whatever's going on, I want to be a part of that discussion, to talk about whatever is going on out there, because I think too often we're and we interview experts on our podcast, right? But I think too often people are so reliant on experts that they neglect any research on their own. And so I want to be a part of that discussion where we're encouraging people to get out there and do research, because um, I I watch it all the time. I watch how we are continual. I know victims might sound like a tough word, but I see us as like victims of capitalism in a sense where they will push any and everything at us because they know that we're given over to this idea that experts run the world. Experts tell us what we should eat, what we should wear, what we should buy, and a lot of people are not really thinking for themselves. So I want there to be a part of that open discussion where 10 years from now I'm still a big part of that, and we're not censoring people for sharing that they believe living plant-based can heal the body, right? Or exercising can help strengthen the body way more significantly than just taking some pills can. So I want to be a part of that discussion in 10 years. And in 10 years, I want to really run this to a point where, it's an actual business again, as I said, just operate on its own. And, further, pushing this merch. One thing that I've got a lot of good feedback on is like people see me in the street wearing the hoodie and they're like, "Oh wow, like I really like your hoodie. Like I like that like positive messaging."
Yeah.
And when you work at a rec center, especially in New York City, rec centers are strategically placed in low income neighborhoods, like really low income neighborhoods. So where I can wear something that is encouraging people within these neighborhoods to live healthier, to think better, like I still want to be very much a part of that. Now, obviously, I want to be careful about how I'm still moving and grooving in the neighborhood, because just like one thing I've seen too often, which is really sad, is that especially when you see like rappers, they always say like, oh, can you really be a rapper and still stay in the hood, right? And a lot of these rappers who stay in the hood and then ultimately meet their demise in the same hood that they were trying to build up. So yes, I'll still be working on building up my neighborhood, but I think I'm also a very cautious person in that regards. But I'm really trying to really make a change. But yes, I want the podcast to be at a different level. I remember when I first started a podcast, I put in my story. I said I want to be the Black Andrew Huberman, right? And Andrew Huberman actually saw the post, and he actually liked it. So I was like, oh, that's
Oh,
funny. So so that's where I'm aiming for, and I keep looking at. Look, I know it's not a competition. I'm not trying to look at it as a competition, but I am looking at other people in our space, right? I'm looking at the Hubermans. I'm looking at the Stephen Bartlett's. Who else is
ritual.
there? Right,
Mel
Ritual.
Robbins, Jay Shetty.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I might have a line to Jay Shetty. I'll keep you updated on that.
Oh,
But yeah, I might.
that's been my I literally wrote back in 2020 that I've
Uh,
been wanting to be on his podcast. I'm like, one day I'm going to
yeah,
be on Jay Shetty's podcast. One day. And you could be too.
yeah.
So,
So here's a funny thing, right? So I got an email from someone, and this is how sometimes blessings are wrapped in a way
yeah.
that you don't expect them,
Yeah.
right? They're often
Absolutely.
wrapped in ways that you don't even want them. So what I'm trying to say is, there was a guy that reached out to be on the podcast, and the name of his book, let's just say that the name of his book seemed to be very antithetical to everything I was about, plant
Mm,
based, all that, right?
yeah.
But that was actually my mistake. He was actually, promoting a plant based lifestyle, but I didn't realize that. So I was kind of like ignoring his email. He'll probably find this out now. But I was kind of ignoring his email. And then I was just like, but then I finally found out what his book was about. So then I hit him back like, hey, like I'm down to do an interview. Like, let me know when. And then he accidentally hit something that sent an email to everybody that he's connected to. And then I saw like all of his contacts.
Oh,
I'm like, and then Jay Shetty was one of them. And I
well.
was like, oh crap. Right.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to try to connect with this guy. Right.
Mm,
So that just taught me that like stop trying to get a blessing, based on its packaging, right? Like if it comes a certain way, it comes a certain way, but just take it. You know, just be present and know when that thing is coming your way. Because a lot of times we're pushing away things that might be, for our best good.
Mm, yeah, I do. I know that we want to be open to receiving no matter what happens, like no matter where we're at in life. I believe that as well. And it doesn't mean like you're going to be tested along the way to see what you can handle and be prepared for. And honestly, that's kind of where I've been at in my own life is like, you know what, maybe this hasn't happened for me yet because of I'm still learning. Maybe this hasn't happened to me because I need to develop even stronger character and I need to develop better discernment. And for you and where you've come, like your path of now being a father, of being a podcast host, of working, I know you work very long hours as well, and navigating, still building your brand, it's not easy. It's not easy to really do it without like a strong team. And I've noticed that even for myself, like it is hard to do things without having a strong team. And in a way, it just shows you how much you can do on your own and be unstoppable. I mean, with God as well. But like how much you can do on your own and just really be that unstoppable person. So for you thinking about everything you've done, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who is feeling extremely defeated in maybe what they're doing right now, their career? They're not getting paid, right? They're not getting paid for this. And I started off my fitness journey years, I think it was like 10 years ago, where I would just write my friends' training programs. I would just write friends this. I would train with them for free, like do all that. Friends, a little different, but like, what do you explain to somebody that is feeling, or how do you encourage somebody who feels so defeated, but they're like, I know I need to be here, but it's not going anywhere. And I'm not getting where I want to be. Because I know you and I are both like that with podcasting, being podcast hosts. We're like, yeah, we might have like 10 solid listeners or 20 solid listeners. So how do you encourage somebody like that?
So this morning, going back to the TikTok live I was talking
Yeah.
about, one thing I started with was talking about affirmations and like affirming your existence, because you can have people around you, right, that can, help you, they're probably, positive people who are trying to push you along, help you along, and continue to give you positive feedback. And then you have people who are giving feedback, but it's not necessarily positive or constructive, right? And in certain ways, as you're trying along your journey, these individuals may very well be, kind of pulling your energy down. And so for me, I was just saying, like, you need to affirm your own existence. And so for me, when selected a name for the podcast, I Choose Health, that was like one of the strongest ways for me to say that I was affirming my existence. Like, I'm choosing me, I'm choosing my health. And so whenever you're in those situations where you're feeling like really dragged down, really discouraged, like, just remember that you're choosing you at the end of the day. So I think, as I said, like coming back to that why, coming back to like how are you affirming your
Yeah.
existence, right?
Yeah.
Because and there are different ways in which people can do it. And I noticed that when people are depressed, they actually go down this path of like not affirming themselves. And what I mean by that is, if that
Yeah.
person was getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to work out to take care of their bodies, they might not be doing that anymore, right? Or if they were, taking a drive out in the country just to enjoy nature or whatever, they stopped doing that, right? Anything that would like involve any type of like self-love or self-worth, like they stopped doing a lot of those behaviors. And so I noticed for me at a certain point, I stopped doing that. not really the exercise so much, just because I think it's been so much a part of me
Yeah.
that like. But here's the funny thing though, when you're going through that
Yeah.
depression and you're still working out, like I've had moments where like I've gone on runs and I've been like crying on my runs, and I'm like, dang, how how is this happening right now, right? And so it's those are just like moments where you started to look at your mental health a little bit differently and see like, okay, in what other ways can I strengthen my mental resolve, right? And so that's where I think people need to really take that time for their mental health. If you're in that place where you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling like discouraged, like take that time to really reset, like and do those things that make you feel reset. Like for me, I haven't been back to my country in like 8 years, right? And I need to plan one of those trips to head back there. But it's one of the most like recentering things that you can do is like going back to your origin of birth, right? Or where you were born, or where you for some people it's like where they first met Jesus, right? Or whatever it is, whatever is that thing that helps you reorient yourself to reality, like go back to that place or go back to that time, that headspace, and try to rediscover some things there, So I think, hopefully that helps, but I think some people need to just try to go back to the center of where they felt that peace, where they felt that happiness, where they felt that certainty. Go back to that if you've ever had that. And if you've never had that, try new things. Try new things and see where it can, if can it take you to that place.
I I absolutely agree with that in respect to I'll caveat with this a little bit because I used to write down list and I still do of things that bring me joy and places that bring me joy. Now, a lot of the times it's memories and who I spent it with that made that place so special. So, for example, I loved Costa Rica and I loved San Diego. And those are two of my favorite cities, and both of them were with two different exes. They were boyfriends at the time, but they were with different exes. And I love the experience and how I felt and how I remember feeling that it's not going to happen again. Like, I'm never going to have that same experience. But those memories sometimes bring me hope that that feeling of happiness is out there again in those same places, if that makes sense. So for me, being on my own, I've been, and even if you're in a relationship, you're married, you're whatever it is, you have to find those things that you enjoy, even doing alone. And it might be something that scares you. Like for me, this is not what scares me, but I love going to get coffee. That is like a favorite hobby of mine. I love going to a cafe, reading, people watching, just the whole experience of going to get a coffee. I love. Even if it's a 15-minute, 20-minute drive to a coffee shop, it makes me so happy. That is something that I can do. It's low risk. No one can take it away from me. It's feasible, low risk, easy. I could do it by myself. It's nothing scary. So that's what I mean by low risk. And when you go about trying to bring yourself joy, you can, in a way, grade how much of a risk it is and what pleasure it brings you. And you can also scale that by 10, 1 through 10, right? Like coffee always brings me joy. So it's like I'm usually feeling 9 out of 10. Happy. Super simple and happy. Low risk. Another one, watching my favorite show on the couch. Low risk. Easy, but it's simple joy. Then there's one that is working out. Now that's a little moderate of risk because there's injury. That injury could happen. Planning, time. but it is something that also brings me joy. Is it on 8, 9, 10? Probably not. No, because I don't always love working out. I do it because it's discipline at this point. But when you are looking to find who you are and find more about yourself, start to, after you either hang out with friends, after you do an activity, start to rank it and see how it makes you feel. Is it something that's fueling you, or is it something that's taking energy from you? And you can even start witnessing that with friends. And it does not mean, I actually spoke about this with Astra on the podcast. It does not mean you need to cut people out. That's not what I'm saying. You can choose, though, how you spend your time. If there's this one friend that you feel every single time you're like, damn, I kind of feel like upset being around them, then take a beat. It doesn't mean you have to cut them out. Just take a beat from them. And that's even like right now, I love my friends. I absolutely do. Currently, I'm the only single one in my group. So sometimes I feel left out. And I'm like, I don't always want to be reminded or be in those groups where I feel that way. So sometimes it's like, okay, let me take a beat. Maybe I just need to spend some time with myself and and do that. I don't have to be around those people. And I'm sure, like, I know that some people with kids, right? Like, one of my friends, she had a really hard time getting pregnant, and being around family birthday parties or with kids, was upsetting to her. But she's like, well, I have to do it. I'm like, okay, if you want to go, show up. But then you stay for an hour and you leave. You don't have to stay for the full 4 hours. Like, you also get to choose how things make you feel. So every time, if you're struggling with like mental health, you're struggling to find your purpose, find something that brings you joy, just start ranking the things that you do as, is this low risk? Does it fill my cup, or does it empty my cup, or does it just make me feel neutral? And the more and more you assess that, the more you get to choose and see what actually brings you joy, and then you can choose to do more of that. It starts with awareness. Once you have awareness, that's first step. So like, even with you, Steph, I know you enjoy being a father. Like, you're good at being a father. You enjoy being a father. And you enjoy podcasting. So how can you get more of that in, because it fills your cup? And I might be overstepping, but this is my perception, right? So I'm seeing that podcasting makes you happy. Being with your daughter brings you joy. Now, I'm sure it's exhausting. Both of them are exhausting, right? But the benefits outweigh the cons. So when you're looking at this, how can you do more of those things that can bring you joy? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I really am calling people to action, to start assessing their life. If they're in this rut, if they're in this mindset, what are those things that they enjoy doing, and how can you include more of that? Yeah, just your thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So before I answer that, I kind of want to speak to something you said before about, like, not necessarily cutting out certain people, but like, certain people make you feel a certain way. I remember the great American public speaker, a motivational speaker, Les Brown, he was saying to like, kind of like distance yourself or cut yourselves from like energy drainers, right?
Yes.
Because there are people who like to determine what is going to happen with your time, right? So they like to say, well, we're going to have this argument right now, and we're going to, right? And for me, sometimes I get into arguments with people who I know that the argument is not meant to be a fair discussion, right? And it's meant to be one of pointing fingers and saying this and saying that. So I'm like, this might be a conversation that needs to be had, but the way in which, either party is trying to accomplish this doesn't seem like the healthiest thing. I'm going to distance myself from this, and then I think we can have this discussion at a time where we're in a healthier headspace to have this conversation. Because a lot of times, if you start a conversation in an unhealthy headspace, I logically, like, I don't see where that's going to go anywhere good, right? So I think it's really important that you own your own energy, and so like, look, It's not that I am disregarding what it is that you want to talk about. I just don't think this is the best time and the best energy to have this discussion, right? Um, and then to answer the question that you were talking about with regards to doing more of what you like in terms of podcasts and being a father. Both are energy draining. The father one, is interesting. I don't feel it that much, and I think partly because I love my daughter so much, right? Like I like being around her. Like she's fun to be around. She's funny. She's cute, so that makes it way easier. Uh, so for me, that was one of my resolutions for 2026 was, okay, I need to spend more time with my daughter, right? Because I'm at work so much. Like I would way rather be with her. I remember one time I was at a holiday party and I left early, and they were like, "Yo, why do you leave early?" I'm like, I said, no offense, but my daughter is way more fun. Is a more fun time than you guys are. So I'm going home. Um, but and so for me, like I said, well, when there are days that I'm home on days like these, I'll try to like take her out, especially if the weather is good. Take her out. We just got her like a new helmet for her scooter, so I'm like, all right, let me test that out. Take her outside, just have fun with her, and just like watching her just be happy. Like I just love when she comes to me and she says she's happy, or she comes and gives me a hug or whatever it is. So, you know, podcasting is a little bit more difficult just because, especially where you are in the process of podcast, because I know that I'm not profitable yet. I know I'm on the way there. But it's like one of those things where, okay, I'm enjoying the discussions I'm having, I'm enjoying the connections I'm making, but I need to see this thing, make some dividends, right? Especially if you are maybe under pressure to do certain things and to probably take care of certain things financially. Like you feel that pressure a little bit differently. And so, even sometimes I'll get some podcast suggestions and I'm like, I don't see how that person or discussion fits into my niche, right? And so for me, I want to continue to have more and more good discussions on health. And I think just because I'm in that kind of like hustle mode, I want to make sure that they are um, discussions that I know are going to push me closer to my goal. Um, but it's now, as I said, trying to operate in that headspace like, okay, I'm doing this because, I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to um, just have fun doing it. So for me, it's just trying to schedule more of those discussions, participate in more things like health expos and just working with people and just seeing how that leads to people having a better life. And so um, when you can see that what you're doing is actually helping people have a better time, have a better life, I think that makes it worth it. And so for some people, like it may take a lot of energy, it may take a lot of time, but when you're really enjoying what you're doing, sometimes you really don't feel it, and it may hit you in a different way, like when you lay down and then you oversleep, right? But it's just different. I think when your commitment level to it is different, you feel a little bit differently. Like there's a little bit more energy that's given. It seems to be given to people who have a different commitment level to making something work.
Thank you for sharing all that. I wanted to highlight the part you said about like parenting and podcasting, that they are energy drainers. And something I wanted to, I think, elaborate on a little bit is they're both beautiful things in your life that are yours, and that you can, even though they drain your energy, they also are something that's a positive influence in your life. So that is something, you know, I'm trying to take what I had said earlier and what you said, and reconstruct it in the way of, this is, you said parenting and podcasting are maybe not energy drainers, but exhausting. I guess that's it. But it's a positive thing because it's helping you grow as a person. It's something you love, and it's getting you to where you want to be one day. And I know nobody can ever tell you about like what's right, what's wrong with parenting. Everybody's learning. I mean, definitely there's clear things you shouldn't do, but like for the most part, it's something that you get to teach and you get to help them grow. And same with podcasting, you get to lead those conversations, choose who you want to interview, choose who you want on your team to help. So that is something that when people are listening to this and saying, wow, like, I'm a parent too, or sometimes it's exhausting and I feel like I should be happy all the time and blessed that I'm a parent. But I can tell you, I mean, I'm not a parent, but from the amount of people I've coached, it is the hardest job you're ever going to do. And nobody has a perfect manual of how to get through it. So that is, it might be draining your energy, but it is something that's positively filling your cup. Where when I talk in the other sense of if these people are draining your energy, in the sense of it's more negativity than positivity. Like raising a child, it's a positive, yeah, it could have hard times, but it's like positive experience in the long run. And running your podcast, it's a positive experience in the long run. So just to harp on that, I wanted to circle back in that sense. But I know we're almost out of time, so I wanted to have you share with people. Now, you've been doing so much work on your podcast. You've grown so much as an individual, a man of faith, a man who's plant-based, who on the last episode or the last time we spoke, you dove into that a lot more. Now, looking back at everything you've done, even the past 6 months or 5 months of this year of 2026, is there anything that you've learned recently that has changed, that's a new philosophy that you've learned that, maybe a year ago you would have not gone by that philosophy? So has anything recently offered you a chance to like represent a new piece of advice to people?
I think for me, it's like really being serious about how you view yourself, and viewing yourself in a positive light. Because um, there were certain things that I said about myself that, to me, I might affirm it as true, but for other people, it may not, right? So, like, I've always seen myself as somebody that I would consider myself as a smart individual, right? But then I noticed that from my childhood, I still have um, insecurities that I'm still taking with me to this point, right? And so things like growing up from the ages of like 7, 8 to the time I was about 20, 21, I was significantly overweight, had very low self esteem, didn't see myself as attractive. And in a certain sense, I still kind of look at myself in that way, right? And so I have found myself at certain points not being able to. I'm 35. I've never been able to look at myself in the mirror and say, words like I'm handsome or whatever it is, right? Like these affirmations. And, I started to realize like, okay, like I think my daughter was watching a show where in the song they were saying, I love myself, right? Like it's okay to love others and be kind to others, but I love myself too. And, I started to realize that a lot of my self confidence and self love issues stemmed from, and hopefully my mom understands when I share this. I realized that she herself dealt with a lot of issues of self love and self worth. And I think part of it was that my mom, when she, was growing up as a kid in Barbados, she was raised by her grandmother, not her mom. Her mom was, lived overseas, and her mom, was a great person. And for whatever reason, she made whatever decisions she made at that time. Um, but so my mom was not raised by her biological mother. And then my mom has never met her biological father. So I started to realize over time, like, oh, my mom never really felt affirmed by her parents, right? Or really felt loved. So it kind of made sense to me why she started to have, I would say, a certain like negative outlooks on herself. And then in turn, that also impacted the way that I saw myself. And I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, do I want this like cycle of negative thinking or way of like seeing yourself in a negative light to continue? Because I don't have that impact on my daughter. Like if she's singing this song, even though subconsciously singing I love myself, like I want that to be like a real thing for her. So for me, it's like I think it comes back to like that idea of affirming yourself and um, you know, like fighting against those ideas that you have about yourself that really truly may not be true, right? And so yeah, it's this is gonna be tough to share, but like as I said, I still have my moments where I kind of come back to that headspace in 2022, right? And like I was talk about the way that technology has advanced. I was talking to the AI about some of my feelings, and I'm like, am I really talking to an AI right now about how I'm feeling, right? And and then the AI was starting to ask me about like, like what positive things I was happy that I had in my life and I was working on. And I said, well, like, my daughter, I have the podcast. And then they were like, oh, what's the name of your podcast? And so I was like, oh, I Choose Health Podcast. And then the AI was like, oh, are you Stefan? Is that who you are? I'm like, yeah. And so I was just like, so in a weird way, like, yes, I know it's an AI, I know it's gonna have access to all that information, but in a weird way, it was like, oh, you're Stefan of the I Choose Health Podcast. Like, we know that's you. And so I was like, holy crap, right? So, it made me kind of like sit back and like, okay, like let me kind of go back to my purpose, right? And kind of stay in that purpose and not let like my feelings of lack of self-worth kind of keep me back from whatever my purpose is. And in the process of achieving that purpose, like really work on finding that self-worth and living in it. I know that was like a super long-winded answer, but
It's okay. You can,
yeah,
there's no apologizing with that.
yeah,
You had shared a lot, and I know we all fight demons inside, some at
mhm,
different levels. It's being able to tell that younger version of you, which is hard. But if you had a younger picture of you today, how would you talk to that young man? Right? Like, how would you talk to 5-year-old Steph? How would you talk to 7-year-old Steph? And you would never tell that child, you're ugly. You can't do that. You can't do that. Like if there was a video of them trying to shoot basketball, you'd probably be, and they kept missing every shot, but you'd say, that's okay. You're going to do great. You're going to do fine. You're going to do wonderful. You can do it. And it's really talking to that inner child. And it's hard because I've done it too, of, you know, you can do this. You can do this. And reminding yourself that you're a father now and exactly how you talk to your daughter. You're not going to tell her, you can't, why do you think you can do jumping jacks? You can't do jumping jacks. You can't do a cartwheel. You would never say that to a child. So in a way, we want to talk to our inner child as well. And sometimes you keep saying things in the mirror. We're so good at critiquing ourselves, but even if you don't believe it, you could say, I'm amazing. I'm a boss. I know how to do this. I'm so cool. I'm so amazing. I'm so handsome. I'm so pretty. I'm so this. Like, you just keep telling yourself that in the mirror, even if you don't believe it, because you live with yourself the rest of your life. You are going to hear your voice more than anyone else's in this lifetime. So it's hard. It's hard. And I struggle with it too sometimes. Like I do. I have my insecurities. And I get them a lot off social media, and I know social media for me is a huge trigger. It's a good thing, but it's also a huge trigger for me that I'm addicted to it at this point, and I'm like, I need to reel myself back and not be hanging on social media where like it's everybody's highlight reel. And so for you, my hope is that you're able to get to a point, and it doesn't need to happen tomorrow, it doesn't need to happen today, but start just saying, or even writing things down like, I am handsome. Even if you don't believe it, just keep writing it down, because there are some people that have the utmost confidence, and I'm pretty confident in myself, but there are some people who have really strong confidence, and they might not even be good at what they're doing, but they just have confidence, where people think that they're good at what they're doing because they have great confidence. So that's, I would say, and I've seen it more in like the sales world and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, these people really know what they're talking about. Like, and it's something I'd encourage you to do, is just leave knowing like, I have to talk to 5-year-old Stefan as if I'm his parent. You parent yourself. We can't be going off of what other people tell us, what our parents told us, what they said to us. Because everybody's parent, it's their first time being a parent. It's your first time being a parent. It's our parents' first time being a parent, right? Like, we can't fault them for trying to be perfect for us. So it's really something to walk away being like, you are known, you are heard, people listen to you, and we're always going to fight demons inside us and demons outside of us, but it's your choice of who you want to let in. Yeah. So I don't know if you have any closing notes or anything, but I really did want to share that with you. Mm-hmm.
Up for her. You know what I'm saying? So that's where a lot of my energy is right now. And I think as parents we kind of get lost in that thing of like, all right, I gotta show up for my kid. I gotta show up for my kid, but we don't show up for ourselves. And I think there's a reason why personal trainers do well with busy parents, right? Because it's like those busy parents are the ones who tend to kind of let themselves go because
Yeah.
they're so focused
On
on
everyone else.
everyone else, especially their child. Like, my child has to be good. Like, I don't care if I don't work out
Yeah.
today, at least I'm at work, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but no, I definitely appreciate just providing this space and time to.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on today. And I'm sure we'll have many more podcast filming. So for everybody listening, I will include Steph's information below so you can listen to his podcast, listen to how inspirational he is. And everyone, let's continue to keep living your best life. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Best Life by You podcast with yours truly. I hope you go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and stay up to date with all the latest information. You can also follow me on Instagram at Julia_Best Life by You for more humor, podcast information, and all the above. I hope to see you soon, and let's continue to keep living your best life.